That's why you think you got to rest up and complain. That's a fire mission. Let's go. Question.
Yeah, let's go, sir. This is that way.
Someone left on the right. Allah, Father of the universe.
Allah, Father of the universe. Father of love,
truth,
peace,
freedom,
and justice. Allah is my protector, my guide, and my salvation. My night and my day. The holy prophet, noble jolly. Ashe. Thank you. That's how it's done. This is their stuff. Another session, Sunday. Session number 3 at the new and improved Morris Science Temple of America.
2.0.
MSTFA Canaanland 2.0, 2.88977. The Prophet warns all Muslims, Prophet warns all Muslims, governors, order to read proclamation at every meeting. So of course we have to do our, of course we have to do our readings. Oh, you brought Tariq? Oh, you got Tariq here.
Yeah, you guys are me on
Brother Omar has sandwiches in the back. Yeah, just give me a second. Courtesy of 5 Principles cuisines. The blue jackfruit, the green is nugget, and the red is BLT.
Nugget?
Yeah, nugget. I don't know. I never heard that one before. So blue is jackfruit, green is nugget, and red is BLT. And you get I think we got water back there as well.
Hey, so just to let you know, I think you may be having a problem with your thing again.
What's that? Oh, you never got?
I just called myself.
Yeah, okay. I'll check it. Because I never got it either. I gotta upgrade again now. It's outdated.
You don't feel anything with conversation.
It's outdated. What conversation? What are you talking about?
You said you had a new phone. You said you had a new phone.
I can't remember.
Yeah, I do have your paperwork here too. Is this new setup?
I must go.
Yeah, we felt to try. I don't know. I felt to try this from the perspective that we've always rolled all the time, and I felt to at least change it up a bit. Maybe you can change the chairs facing the center, but at least you're sort of facing them. I don't know.
Yeah. Oh, that's so good. It's a change, you know.
It's an experiment, right? If you're like you go back to the roads again, right?
Yeah.
You can also angle your chair.
Yeah. And you can also stretch your feet out a little bit. No, in the other place where you have to get up and stretch, you go outside for a little bit. I hereby inform all members that they must end all radical agitating speeches while at work, in their homes, or on the streets. We are for peace and not destruction. Stop flashing your cards at Europeans. It causes confusion. Remember, your card is for your salvation. Failure to obey these orders will be of severe consequence. We are for love, truth, peace, freedom, and when these principles are violated, justice must then take its course. Any member or group of members who hold malicious feelings toward the temple or the prophet, or violate the divine covenant of the Moorish movement, will receive the reward from Allah for their unjust deeds. All true Moors will and must obey the law as laid down to them by their prophet, If they lose confidence in their prophet, they should turn in their cardinal button, cease wearing their turban and fez, and return to the state where I, the prophet, found you. This is a holy and divine movement founded by the prophet Noble Ali. And if the prophet is not right, the temple is not right. The prophet is therefore sending out a divine plea to all Moorish Americans that they do their part in protecting their prophet and the temple. This is an everlasting movement founded by the prophet through the will of Allah to redeem his people from their sinful ways. Islam. To be proclaimed at every meeting. I am glad to know that I have a few faithful Moors among you all, and I desire for them to know the truth and the divine truth. There is a host of jealousy about me and the movement now, by the same people of our side of the nation that claim I was only a joke and unreal. But now, since they have found out from the government officials and the nations of the earth that this is the only sole foundation that all Asiatics must depend upon for their earthly salvation as American citizens, they are working every scheme that they can to disqualify me, so they may take charge of the situation. I have notified all these things to you long ago in the past. It is through the faithful Moors that attribute to the movement and uplifting funds. The ones that paid their divine respect to me and the movement will be remembered. That is why I am calling upon all faithful Moors to increase their faithfulness to me, your prophet, and your divine Moorish movement. I need finance and I need it badly. Never before have I needed finance so badly as I do at present, so I can shove aside the discord that is facing the nation. It all comes through jealousy because of my fame and nobility. The nations of the world will not recognize the movement without I, the prophet, being head. It has been proven by my works, which I have performed in the past few years. Prophet Noble Ali. To the members of the Moorish Science Temple of America, Islam. This is the instruction from your Prophet Noble Ali. Be faithful unto your forefathers' divine and national creed, that you will be blessed for your good deeds that you sow in the flesh. Allah is the one that judges the world, and his judgment is now on, but the weak can comprehend it not. The end of time is drawing near, so says Allah to his divine prophet, I am Noble Ali. And that's why many hearts have been turned to stone. Many have eyes to see but cannot see, ears to hear but cannot hear, lest they be confounded of their sins. These are trying hours now, dear Moors, and every evil spirit is moving, and they are trying every weak mind to overthrow and drag out the true foundation that has been laid, and to cause confusion in the minds of the ones that do believe. But if you have the true love of Allah and the spirit of your forefathers, you fear not what you hear or see, but will sacrifice the utmost of your very life to protect your prophet, your movement, and your prophet. Watch your enemies, dear Moors. Your enemies are the ones that speak against your prophet and ridicule him to the very lowest. The ones that speak against your divine and national principles of your temple. Act accordingly, and Allah will bless you for your good work. Peace, your divine prophet, Noble Ali. Islam. We want to give a quick plug because there's still this misinformation about Masonry and Moors. Brother Abdullah Bey, Abdullah Bey presented for Moors, the Moors and Masonry book. And you can go to moorciviletter.net, Moorish, Civiletter, and as well moorsandmasonry.org. There was an upload again going to. Make sure you also always remember that when we talk about scholars and people who we're supposed to learn from, they should have certain qualifications to make them be credible. right? There should be something that with regard to them, you're looking at as a track record to see, okay, this individual is somebody worthy of having my time, right? Because majority of the waste of time is because of how important that attention is. So people don't understand what time is. Being that it's an illusion and all that, time never was when man was not and all that. So when we checked Dr. Ben's track record, he actually went to study from the Moors. He went to where the Moors had their university so he can learn to be whoever it is that he said he's going to be able to write books, be teacher, scholar, professor, or whatever like that, fly all over the world, tell people about this history or whatever. However, the message was presented. When we go to the qualifications, okay, we go to the qualifications, his specific avenue was Moorish that he went down to be who he was. And then when you check with regard to his history, where his parents are from and whatever like that, you see how vast that this is. Relative to somebody who's not even from this side. And then Noble Jouali comes out and presents this idea of, okay, well, what about also over here? Now, when you bring masonry into the equation, it only has talked about history in North America. In other parts of the world, they don't care about Freemasonry and all that stuff. It's not like how over here they go in and the pyramid means that Freemasonry in other places is like Freemasonry, you don't know anything about it. Like it's not something that you're going to be able to go online and you'll find out that that's what this is about. That's stuff that you're brought into, and because you're part of some family or whatever. In North America, the fiction is told about European nations being people who have stuff and have knowledge and have whatever. Outside of North America, everybody knows people are caveman who didn't invent anything. Everywhere outside of North America, they know when you see those guys coming, it's pretty much done. Right? All these people outside North America always press on the people in North America that you're not from over on this side. You're from where you're at. And where we're at was specifically this. Because when you go again and check the track record, during this time, there was only one enemy. During the time of this rule, there was these people and the enemy. Whatever was happening in this realm had good, bad, ugly, whatever, it didn't even matter. That's just what it was. Blue. So the concept of with our esteemed scholar being looked at as part of the Illuminati, whatever, because he was a Mason. right? And they found the secret picture with him in a fez and it said grand potentate and all that. And they look at it as some negative whatever. How is he looking at that if he had this as his foundation? Was he looking at masonry like how the Negroes who he's teaching is looking at masonry? Because again, when we go to Brother Abdullah, the connection's made for us. Islam, right? The connection's made for us. That Moorish, anything, and the idea of Masons, Freemasons, or whatever is a relative subject. Because one comes out of the other. One is the foundation, and one is everything that's built on that. And everybody's looking at what's built on that as what is the reality, and not making any connections to the foundation. Which is why now, again, with the fact that Brother put this book out, and he has so-called Freemasons that are Prince Hall or Black Lodges or whatever, calling him to come lecture about this. Which is what the whole point of what Noble Drew presented for the Moors is about. Getting the people who don't know about this to find their way to connect to it. Like we know the connection with, if you put a Sikh and a Rasta side by side, you don't know which one is which. Because it's really one thing. That people don't know that there's a relationship between the Sikhs and the Rastas because of the concept of turban and having a turban and making sure your hair is covered and whatever like that. There's a relationship between them that only they know about, because if you're not in the lodge of the Sikh Rastafarian whatever, then you don't know what that is. You just think that, whatever. You got a question? No, you like the nugget. Oh, the nugget did right now.
Shut up.
All right. Well, that's what it's about, bro.
Sorry. What I was trying to ask is, what dynasty connects the Rastaman, like Rastas, and the Sheiks or whatever? Is it like the Lemurian dynasty, or like, do you answer what I'm saying?
If the connection is really it's more of a divine connection. It's a spiritual recognition of something. For them, the thing is beards and turbans and because it's the route that the Sikhs had to take to be able to whatever, and the route that the Rastafarians had to take to be wherever is the same.
Okay.
It's parallel paths. Like they're looking at each other going on a path. The only thing is that the Sikhs, they have a nationality. Okay. And the Rastafarians, they're black and black whatever. Which is what stunts their growth. Because again, they're seeing things, right? Just like with Moorish and the Masonry. And they're looking at Mason, that has nothing to do with once or whatever. But then the only reason these people are doing what it is because of that. Like the Sikhs are Sikhs because of Sikhs. The Sikhs are Sikhs because of quote unquote Rasta or conscious, living, dark-skinned people that grow their locks or whatever, grew their beard or whatever, they lived in the mountains. Like that's a Rasta man. Now what they say, oh, you got to wear the green and the gold and the, that's not what Rasta is.
The thing about history is who's calling who.
Right.
So like somebody that's not a good hashtag, that don't know how to people can tell the truth about the people. But they're writing all these things that they got from somewhere else that, and they even tell you where that information from.
Right. Because once you make the connection that there's a connection to other things, then it's about leaving the other things and just deal with the foundation. If the esteemed scholar is a Freemason, which is really secret more science, which means that he would have got all the keys or whatever. He would have got everything. He would have been left out. It would just be, what does he want to present based on all this info that he's got? And knowing how dumbed down the people are is why those things weren't public like that. Just now people are finding out that Dr. Benz or whatever, Mason. 30, 40 years ago, debating Jews and all that stuff like that, they were concerned or interested or even thinking about that. But because, again, the connection of it to Moorish, there's a idea, like when they talk about, when the black whoever's talk about self-hate and black man killing himself and whatever like that, self-hate, that's not self-hate. Self-hate is not being Moorish and dissing everything that's Moorish. You see, Masons always diss that. But that's Moorish. Oh, well, then we have nothing to do with the Moors because the Moors did some type of whatever. And disconnect themselves from their own culture. That really, everything that is being presented to them is trying to connect them to Moorish. Like we were talking about with Aretha Franklin and going through all her album covers, she got turbans on, feathers on, and all that. Yeah. Tassels on hats and all that type of stuff, but you know, where is she now? What's her legacy based on? Some civil rights BS. We're not going to talk about you know that part of it. They're not dealing with the part when she was conscious.
We're doing some little expose on the programs in the morning. And they were talking about what a legacy she left, but then they were also trying to bring in so-called racist attitudes at the time, not really telling you obviously what was really going on. It was really the attack on our state. They were making it seem like a racial thing. But then they were talking about how at that time, modus operandi for the record companies was to rip all these artists off.
Right.
All the time.
Yeah.
She was one of the smart ones who got paid before she sang, because she knew that the game was that it was usually set the concerts up and then take the money and then find a way to have the concert sort of canceled. The concert, like the power goes down, or the lights go off. They're describing all of these sort of the same sort of stuff that's in operation, but they're never identifying who those people were.
Right, right.
They're just talking about it as if there's some entity out there that was ripping her off.
Yeah.
Right? But I just found that interesting because I think you have to, and that's where I see my eyes are open. It's what they're not telling you.
Exactly.
Which is the most important.
Right.
I don't know, that's like Prince and like good accent.
Yeah.
As soon as they get
Just to let you guys know that, excuse me, that nugget stuff is pretty good.
I also love that like Prince and Michael Jackson, as soon as they get their catalogs and their assets back,
right,
shortly after they die.
Right.
So it's like people don't see the conspiracy. They'll say it's a conspiracy, but they don't see what's really going on.
Yeah. It's just talk that it's that.
Yeah. You know, I just recently found out even of these so-called
talk a little louder.
yeah, these Freemason lodges, enough of them are even like fighting amongst themselves, like who's the real lodge, who's been sanctioned properly, you know, like even amongst those those lodges. So
Yeah.
just imagine like even during these times, all those who were functioning with those community lodges, once they heard about more talking, it seems that spoke of, that was like, oh, who is this guy? We have to be with him. We have to make a connection with him. That's really like the only way that we still exist truthfully on this planet right now, because we acknowledge natural principles.
Well, Cyrus.
Yeah, going back to the Rasta and the sheep comparison. Also, as well, sheep they don't eat flesh, just like Rasta. And what did I notice? They don't go to sleep because I live in mountain, and they're all in the park. All the sheep in the park, they're drinking, they're all chilling in the park. And I noticed like it's all the younger children working and the younger generation working. They don't work in this shit. We all know Rasta don't believe in above ground system and it's slavery. So I can see that, that comparison where everybody, every culture, adopted more science and civilization. They're trying to put their own spin on it, but realistically, and also touch on the Dr. Banks. Obviously, everybody knows that Masons, once you get the whole lot, you just silence yourself.
That too.
As once you get the whole thing, you talk, everybody knows it's off of your head.
Yeah.
But Dr. Banks was able to say whatever you wanted. I mean, whether controversial or not. But you couldn't do anything because you got a degree in more science. So that trumped whatever, I guess, whatever goals or whatever initiation stuff that you have to go through to be a part of your stuff. So just the fact that he was an actual scholar, actually a bachelor's and whatever the paperwork to prove it, I guess. He wasn't like a self-proclaimed scholar that goes on the level. But I mean, he was legit on the books. So.
Right.
To me, I think that's what made me able to say stuff because any other spaces try to say something that was not there. They could have gone through that's it.
To add on to that, the whole masonry, if I'm correct, I was watching readings and whatnot, but bishops, they're Masons, right? Like they're Freemasons, right?
The bishops as in the church?
Yeah.
Yeah. All those are their own little lodge. They have their own little thing going on.
Alright, so now I got that cleared up. Right? I got some clarification on that. So I had a little run with the pastor in Hamilton.
Yeah.
Garage.
Yeah.
Mechanic shop. And the pastor, they don't call him pastor. They call him bishop. Like when they greet him, they greet him as bishop.
Yeah.
They say bishop. They don't say pastor.
Right.
They're not allowed to call him that. He's a bishop. Right? So the thing with the whole video, someone had shared on the Canaanland group that we have on the WhatsApp. I shared it. I was going to share it with the mechanic guy.
Yeah.
I guess I didn't even know Bishop was there.
Yeah.
It threw me off guard and everything. I'm like, hey, I'm like, look at this video. They're showing the video with the pastor that was dressed in the army suit.
With the guns.
I was going to show the video, and then I never knew Bishop was there.
Yeah.
Fixing on his fence.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden he threw me off, and he goes, "Oh, it's a female pastor though. It's not a male pastor. It's a female pastor." So, but I was facing the other way, so he said it from behind me. So I turned around and looked at her, but right away my senses, my Morris senses kicked in. Stopped, paused, and I said, "Oh, you're a pastor." And he goes, "Well, that's right." Just like the tone, So I'm like, "Well, I have nothing against the church. As far as I'm concerned, I'm a Morris American. We have nothing against the church." He said, "You're a Morris American." I'm like, "Well, yeah." And he's like, "Well, that's interesting." That was that, nothing else.
That's interesting, but
Like, oh, what's that?
right?
You know, so.
We ain't seen that in a hot minute. Still.
Well, listen to this joke, Morris. The bishop's title is Bishop Morris, right? So, but he doesn't. The whole joke, we cut it short because we got to get class. The whole joke of this is, I've already attended his church.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So, long story short, it goes deeper than that. You know, with the whole story that we had, the whole education that we had. He goes, if I offered you to come to my church, would you come to my church? I stopped and I paused and I said, I'm like, well, why would I do, I said, why would I do that? Like, what's that gonna really, you know? And then he said, well, no, that's not, he said, would you come to my church? And I said, well, would you come to my temple if I offered you to come to my temple? And he said, well, then I would have to stop. He said, I would have to take time to think about that. That was it goes deeper than that. We'll go class going, you know, this is a little
Come to my side. Go to mine.
the bishop versus the Moor. You know?
Bishop versus the Moor.
And when you finish up,
So he was really shocked when he said Moorish. Like, what?
Yeah, he definitely knows.
Doesn't have anything on his head.
We even went as far as the Nicene Council.
Yeah.
For
When he goes into Sunday, he's going to be like church.
I bumped into a devil. I bumped into a devil.
you say yes.
There's a devil in there.
You see, your best, another church you get done. He's going to be upset.
I told him.
You're obligated to teach them.
I told him, listen, why is it temple? Why do you need like this? I'm like, the church is going up to church.
You should have said yes.
We're not gonna go. We went.
Too far already.
Go with the fence. Shut the church down. This is what they're doing.
So just a quick excerpt from Moors and Masonry for people to further study and for people who might be confused as to how they're supposed to be looking at that. Chapter 2 examines how the historical cover-up of the massive Moorish enslavement and ransoming of Europeans during the 15th, 16th, and 1700s relates to the subjugation of the conquered and defeated Moors under the 14th Amendment. That is, the occupying and colonial body politic known throughout the world as United States, United States of America, US, USA, and falsely as America has used the 14th Amendment to subjugate the conquered and defeated Moors, classified as Black, Negro, colored, and African American, under its occupying and colonial jurisdiction. Because the conquered and defeated Moors have been indoctrined with the European reconstructed history, geography, archaeology, and language, as well as false law, they are not politically competent to challenge the colonial jurisdiction of the 14th Amendment and the European colonial states' birth certificates that are used to make claims over them as subjects under the guise of citizenship. In Chapter 3 of Moors and Masonry, Part 2, the Federal Republic government and the Imperial Divan restored to the Moors, this author analyzes the 14th Amendment and the European colonial states' birth certificates in the context of occupation, colonization, subjugation, statelessness, stateless persons, and the denationalization of Moorish land, as well as the Moors, as topics addressed in international law. Today, millions of subjugated and denationalized Moors, classified in the United States Census Bureau as Black, Negro, colored, and African American, due to European colonial social engineering, truly believe that they are citizens of the United States through the 14th Amendment and the European colonial states' birth certificates. And then for people who are new, the reason why you hear all the United States and all of that is because we're looking at Canada as part of that same part of that same corporation that the United States is. Right? Because when you go back to in the jurisprudence department, we're dealing with going back to some of those earlier documents before the Constitution, in order to have a better perspective of what took place after all that. So when you go back and you go to the Articles of Confederation, there's Article 11 is talking about Canada being invited or being acceded to being part of the Union. So this is why when you look at Canada's presentation of itself, they're talking about Constitution Act. But anytime they make reference to the Constitution, they never say Constitution Act, they say Constitution. Which means they're talking about two different things when they say that. When they have the oath of ethics and things like that, when they talk about quote unquote police being subject to enforce the Constitution, they have to do that. They don't say Constitution Act or Charter of Rights and Freedoms or Highway Traffic Act or none of that. They just say Constitution. So that connection is why you would hear, the US, USA, and then you would actually talk to people and they'll talk from a perspective like Canada's not part of North America. Like Canada's separate from everything else that's in the Western Hemisphere. Like it's its own entity. But no, it's part of everything here. Right?
There's a kind of obvious stuff.
There's a lot people can look into if they want to see the SEC, the Securities and Exchange Commission, for Canada's finance. Once it goes to what people would call capital, it's just the Department of Ministries and Finance for Canada on behalf of the United States. That's 4 zeros, 230098.
Yeah, there must be incorporation. There's
Want to follow the money and see the money.
You had something to say?
Plus also in the chat, somebody posted, sister posted where the highwayman now undervests.
Oh, yeah.
Of the banner and the Canadian banner together under the vest.
Yeah.
So that just proves, they even tell you that there is one. As long as they have the US banner and Canadian banner together.
Together. Yeah.
Under the vest.
And also you check out the same article of Confederation. We talked about marketplaces, prisons and stuff like that. As you know that what they identify in so as the Indian Wars is just really like Moorish the state that they try to conquer, try to claim like it's theirs.
And part of the whole thing of them even being able to claim that is Moors claiming to be what they're not, which made it open for those people to do whatever it is that they wanted to do. You know, because remember, there's always that part of the history and the reconstruction. So when they say the reconstruction of history, it's not just like things on a physical level being built up. It's actually going through and taking out certain information that they're not going to let the public have, get the goal out of circulation, get certain things out of circulation so that it makes it a lot easier for them to control the masses. Because if they control all the resources, then the masses they're pretty much done for. If they say, all grocery stores closed tomorrow, whoever has food, that's who has food. Whoever doesn't, there's nothing that you're going to go and get from somewhere unless you know who to go get from. Right? Which is all going into the occupation, the colonization, the subjugation, the statelessness, the denationalization. and the misdirection of people's concepts, that they're looking at they look at Moors, they have hatred or whatever. They don't want to be Moors. They look at Freemasonry, they don't want nothing to do with that because that's whatever. But then that's Moorish.
They'll say, some will say that you're going more to the traders and so on. But you're Moorish.
Right.
They don't get it.
But the ones that I can say, oh, okay, we're the traders because, you know, they civilized the Europeans and made them kind of get knowledge or whatever, but that's just the natural cycle of divine cycle of life. You know, it has to happen, right? Whatever reason, they're creating them here, so the evolution of that has to take its place. But what people don't realize now, what about the cells we have now? How come nobody attacking them? What about the pastors, like you said, and the churches were mandated back, so-called back churches, because remember, Christianity one time was a European. That's why they use that to slave us. It's so-called slavery. When I would say so-called slavery, but whoever was enslaved in that time, and we weren't all enslaved. But the fact that when the pastor of that church, so-called that churches came about, they were supposed to minister more science, not Christianity.
But you have to remember that the people that are putting this in place are preaching Christianity. So even the people that are black people and they're the same church, they have to preach what they're told, which is Christianity. So it would be done among the whole population, not being aware that they're Moors themselves. So the whole population is being misled because the person that they're looking up to, which is the pastor or the bishop, is indulging in the BS that they're supposed to doctrine and the whole thing. It's weird, you know?
But the sad part is, with research, they realize that you're supposed to teach them more science, not Christianity. And they basically sold out with the tax off. They were 501(c)(3), you get the tax off and get the ransom loan. They sold out to take that instead of teaching the Islamic.
Originally, they're being sold out, but they don't even know that. Some of them do know, but they don't even really care, you know?
The biggest kickback is good.
It's like that kickback.
When you go deep into it, it's like, you know what I mean? Like, I can read in some people's faces and my friends that I know. It's like, I went to my grandma's church picnic, right? And I brought my other friends and stuff like that. And bro, certain people in church, like, they'll look down upon you because you have long hair. You want to see the amount of people that are growing dreads now in that church. Oh my gosh, they're turning vegan. It's like nuts, man. They're turning vegan.
Gotta do it. Gotta do it.
They're growing their dreads now.
I mean, why they do it is natural. It's something that you can't stop. Eat right, you know, do the right thing, live right. It's just everybody's just like.
No book can tell you that stuff.
I think it's slowly because another slowly turning, you know, like the food is the.
Somebody will come and say this. Well, I don't want to say it's in the Bible where I read. I never say nothing in there that I eat anything. But yes, to the church, I have people and they have pork and they have chicken and they have everything like that. Is it? But that alone, it just defeat the whole purpose of what you want to try and reach. So it doesn't make no sense.
Right. Everybody else.
This thing has something to do with the weed. Remember, I remember the Bob Marley and Marcus Garvey said, when they free marijuana, that people will be free. So this is the age where the European is accepting marijuana. So it kind of the Rasta, it kind of the air, right? The weed kind of everything. From the Rasta days when they're getting beat up, nobody want to listen to them. Yeah, people are prosecuting them for going their ear, smoking the weed with that.
And then now that's the in thing. Yeah, that's the in thing now.
Yeah. And that time the priest had the blood. And all the rest of the people that talk about this. So Christian people that said, my own mother said, Instead of listen to any other reggae, listen to the rest of the reggae. It wasn't accepted, but that was considered decent.
that was considered decent music.
So it's kind of less of that. So we're raising the church was back going to here now. Yeah, think about how important it is for us to be worse. Because we're going back to the era of the Rasta. Yes, nobody liked it. Because he wasn't accepted. But if the European accepted it, then it's okay now. Justin Trudeau said it's okay. The Christian hearing, no. Hey, Justin Trudeau said it's okay. So there you go. See? Yeah. That's what the whole thing is. Yeah. And if the very much guy is telling them it's okay, they might hear a little bit.
Yeah, but people supposed to think because what is legal and what is illegal. 400 years ago, slavery was legal. Understand? A European will black buy one a week. What if you go buy one of us? You know what I mean? So and then they abolished that. So and it was legal. So at the end of the day, what is legal and what is illegal? How come say you can put up a cigarette on your shelf where I kill more than 100 people per year? Is it? But yet still smoke a split. They will penalize you for that. It just don't make sense how people can comprehend that.
It's science, man.
It's where it's at, which is why this is what's needed. Because they tried church, they tried, you know what I mean, marching, they tried go shoot up something, they tried go burn something down, they tried go get some lawyer guy to go sue somebody for whatever. They tried everything. Ain't nothing working. And then when you look at everybody else, they didn't even try doing stuff yet. All they said was, "Oh yeah, we're a nation. You guys gotta respect us or whatever. We're a nation. All of us have one headwear. All of us have one creed. All of us have one way that we wear stuff. All of us have one whatever." And all those people get recognized. And we were talking about it a few weeks ago that even the gays came and realized what's up. They realized that they have a flag, right? They realize that they got a flag, right? They have their own gay language or whatever, right? And now they can do whatever. Now they got people in parliament. They got people the head of this and that over here, right?
That was a systematic program that they slowly like.
You put it on before to that, you know what I mean?
But the whole
Because
even people that activate that, even people that system here to real bodies to go play it up.
That's not true.
Which is us.
Yes, but the psychological game when they put power in terms of like the children, our way of feeding on everything that they put accessible to and easy access. It just brainwash you and type of way to think. It's like a program of mind. It's like one trigger, one chip in our head. You know, for like think a certain type of way and move a certain type of way. And look at them, they don't understand what going on. We not teach them.
We have to get involved in us, right?
And it's easy to teach them with our thoughts now and a million and one distractions that's in place.
But that's like what we were talking about earlier. What we were talking about earlier was that attention, once they get your attention, they have your time.
Yeah. And time is the most expensive thing because
right?
money can't buy it.
So if the people's attention is on the things that are supposed to be progressive or whatever, then that's what's gonna manifest. Because attention has to do with not necessarily what you look at, but what you think.
Focus on.
Right? And focus on something and something happened. That's our ancient sciences of how we manifest stuff.
Can't focus on what they want us to program.
Once we're focusing on what they want, then what they want is gonna manifest.
Yeah. And that's what's been going on since we're on Earth.
Right?
So we are focusing on us now. Yeah, this is real.
Like this is where it's at right now.
We don't take it
That
way, then it's not gonna happen.
right.
Everybody.
Yeah.
If you think something is wrong, then this is good. You can come in here and work. Anybody that knows something is wrong and start feeling it, this is the road.
Yeah.
From this way on. But we've seen it all.
Yeah, it was hard.
Because
there's a shift going on now where even though people are not really, they know about the war, even though they're not talking about it, but because of the wars, they realize now that they're indigenous to America because now a lot of people are talking like that.
Mhm.
And we are the only ones who are talking about indigenous to the America. So now they're on that now. So I feel the new program they're trying to push now is all Black Indians, and now they're trying to create a new brand. A new brand for this, it's for now.
Just adjective.
Yeah. It's not even like a brand. It's like a brand. It's now it's Black Indians and new.
Yeah, that's the yeah.
They're trying to change the adjective to another, because black is already an adjective, so it's already described word. So like you can't like say black people, because that's not a nation.
Exactly.
That's a Black Indian now. I want to switch up the word.
Yeah, but Indian was the first
Yeah,
brand.
India is nothing either.
Indian is an adjective too.
Yeah,
exactly.
India is nothing either. Yeah.
Indians come from India.
Yeah, when you go back to Robert Crowley, right? Those Robert Crowley's keep rising in India. So if we're being worse, and they're seeing that you're being worse, and they start doing something. Remember, they know about more already. And they think you're sorcerers, they're going to try to stop the people from coming to this. That's the time that we have to be strong.
Right.
Remember Noble Draw? Yeah. The Noble Draw is to keep your eyes open and look in the media. These are the things he's talking about, what you're saying. These are the things that he's saying, when you rise, the guys are trying to
Put things in the,
yeah. They don't rise up, and become a nation.
And the closer we get to the truth, the focus it and make it a bigger privilege and put some things in it.
Right.
The bigger nation that doesn't really know what we still know, so that's privilege.
And then I see it.
Go back again to Noble Crowley, when we see these things, we study more. He said study something. He didn't just say that like it's 3 times.
Right.
Read everything. You go back on what he said, study.
So for example, so just as you were talking about that, so I was building with Brother Yasun yesterday, and we were talking about what were we talking about? We're talking about movies or whatever that we were watching, and we brought up how nobody ever talked about. Everybody talked about Black Panther, but nobody talked about the Thurgood movie, but the same actor played the star. And I was like, yeah, how come everybody only focused on,
In the same movie.
Yeah, two separate movies, but it's the same lead actor, right? So Black Panther got all the hoopla, but just like we're talking about with the brainwash and they took the energy of the Panthers. They took the Black Panthers of the 60s energy to get people to chase after this movie. But when you go and look at the Thurgood movie, that's dealing with somebody who was a constitutionalist as well. But that never got any play, but it's the same actor.
What's it called?
Thurgood. It's called Thurgood. The Thurgood Marshall movie. So was doing some, watching videos on documentaries on him and all this stuff and all that.
So this could be like a test for my personality insight. If they do things, they want to know if they put 2 things out there. They want to know if all conscious.
All conscious are the people.
So they
Yeah.
the truth and not so much the truth.
Yes.
One
Right.
movie.
Yeah.
See if you can pick it up. So they realize by reading and see all whatever comes back.
Whatever comes back.
They know how much people know anything.
Yeah. How much ever that movie grossed. Yeah.
Everything.
Yeah.
It's not when you do it on you realize whatever they put out there is working.
Right.
And this is so much of it, so we're not worried.
Yeah.
Yes,
Exactly. Right.
You put it right in the brain, like a candy from a brain.
Yeah.
They realize you have built enough mass of contrast words, so they keep testing it. They'll put a movie out, they'll get 2 guys to see this. One song is saying the real thing, one song is saying something like mix up. There's truth is in both of them, but one is realer than one.
Yeah.
So, well, the ratings was how much records and stuff.
Yeah.
That's a test. That's a
Yes, they say they put the truth in front of you.
Not one time, and this is release that.
Yeah.
That's a joke that alone defeat the whole purpose.
Yeah.
Right?
That's it.
Right.
That's it. You know what I mean? So the cast a shadow in front of your eyes. Right? But if you're not conscious to pick it up, and then if you pick out something, you're gonna disassociate.
Exactly.
Like you said, if they're confusing you, then you go do something more positive, so you're not confused. You pick up more books. That's good for you.
Yeah.
And leave their stuff alone. It's there, right? It's there, but it's not going to interfere though, because your focus is different. And your focus is focus is different. Although you train your children, you gotta change. You can't wait till he change them or I change them. You change first, then they follow. When they follow, you don't know what's coming, how they're gonna come.
Right.
You don't know, according to what Noble Charlie said, it's not for us. If my
For the
mom
young.
knew this or my dad knew this, where would I be in this movement?
Yeah. Yeah.
Let's think about that, you know what I'm saying? So if it's from the unborn, from the young and unborn, we gotta clean it up because we're the ones who are responsible, unfortunately.
Exactly.
I mean, what they're gonna do if we do what, you know, the basic thing they told us to do, study, if we do that basic stuff and set it for them. How much people can he show? You know, he's not studying, but he's growing in it. How much of our people he's gonna affect with whatever energy that he's putting out? How much people know? So whatever we're gonna lose a mass of people, you know that. We're gonna have to accept the blood. It's gonna shed.
Yeah.
We're gonna have to accept it. It's not our fault, but we still have a responsibility to save the little amount of us that we can save among, you know what I mean, and keep going because they're not gonna kill the whole nation. They're gonna take a few of most of us on.
Right.
It's gonna happen.
Can't take everybody out.
Not gonna take everybody off, but you know what I mean. The one that recognize it's serious, we gotta be more serious. You know, when we see shit like this happening and we're trying, and I didn't know when you're testing, it's not able to fail. But how much of us are ready to rise?
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Anybody had any more input?
I was just gonna say, it's even hard, like, looking at your family, when you consider your family, you may be the only person in your family, right? But at the same time, you have to kind of, you think about leaving them.
Yeah.
Because they become, somewhat of an interest when you have conversations, it's always gonna go towards the old stuff. And you're trying to pull them the other way, so those conversations, nowadays, they die. It's tension sometimes, right?
That's what we do. You can't see that, I'm looking for it. Well, as I know, God put the lessons out for you, so your enemies are going to be your immediate family, because they're also sorcerers that are trained to hinder you from losing the truth. So you have to be aware of that whoever you call your immediate family is not being your family until they wake up.
Yeah.
Bible is a big bridge, sure, but that's a lot of
right? And then what you say about Jesus, when he was when he was in the synagogue, and the mother was looking for him. And he said, "No, you have to do my father's work." He's using with those priests, right? So that's you now. If your wife doesn't agree, you're indexing it or reasoning it with your mind, right? So to do the right thing, but because they're trained, their job is to hinder you, take you away.
Yeah.
Come back over here.
Come back.
You're busting over what? We picture that. During this was that we went through, me and him. We had both pheasants. We went to my mom and dad's house. And it was like 2 ghosts there. Sitting there waiting for us, like, hold on, we're going to sleep on it. You know what I mean? I'm just relaxing. This guy's going to the other room. Who says, right? Because the thing was, whatever it was, the energy was heavy. I'm stronger. And I'm like, we know we're going to this food truck in the bag and ready for my little bag is packed.
Yeah.
This time was nothing like
that.
But there's no food after me. We thought that we're coming from the temple, we're going to pass by.
Yeah.
Obviously, we just said, we're let's work.
Let's see.
We're going there, mother, father, on the sofa. The door is there, and they're just looking. And we have our key, we're just opening.
Yeah.
My father just said, he was quiet, he didn't say anything. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
My mother's like, obviously, you know that she's a government because she rises up. And she was, her energy was high. Like, what is, what are you Muslim? What are you doing? What are you doing? Come on, like, the devil's for that. I'm telling you what you said.
Yeah.
I just go back to the story. When Jesus stopped the door and he came, if you're not welcome, knock your foot off. And
Gotta go about your business.
no,
Yeah.
I'm using your own stuff now. Like, I'm gonna leave the Bible. Last time I come back in the night, no offense.
Foot knock.
No offense, no food. It's
Foot knock.
all good.
It's all good.
Some reaction. I didn't know
It was gonna be like that, but
got him.
yeah.
He was shot and asking us when we go in the room. He just said he didn't want to say anything. I'm like, I can't read it. My dad obviously didn't say that.
Yeah.
Up until this day, it's quiet. Like my mom is like, you know, she's a deacon in the church.
Mm.
And
You said your energy
was
on it.
Yeah, we did. Who wants to hear we did? What is what up? Who almost don't know? Man, what up? And he looked at him like harder. What up my head? Because you know, she christened him and she in her church.
Yeah.
What up my head? This. But that happens to all of us because it happened to me too with my empress. It was all good when I started studying. As soon as I got the fez, I mean, it's okay talking about it and studying and have loud book. But as soon as I got the fez, oh, no one in the house. I gotta go.
I'm out of here.
The whole thing with powerful reality was the more that were with them back then, and the more that are with them, the other one, and today the ones that are with them back then are with them today.
Yep.
That are against them back then are the ones that are the same ones that are against them today. The same thing going on. Same thing. Nothing going on. Nothing going on. That's just it is what it is, right?
It's always gonna be that. It's always gonna be that constant thing. Those people that's to the right of that people.
Yeah.
It's never gonna be a one conjoined thing.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's always gonna be two powers fighting against each other.
We have to come to these fights though.
Yeah.
So it's like if we're gonna move on, we're gonna have to just come to the fights and then disassociate, not forget the money.
Yeah. But
when it comes to a neutral respect, we're neutral. Why I know it though? Why I know this? Because since I don't care what anybody says, I'm still doing my thing. What I realized over the last year or two now she started calling me Osiris. And now, you know what I mean?
yeah.
Now they want to start eating
Right, yeah.
So I see that me just doing my thing, not even going at them without any more information.
Yeah.
Right? I just allow them, I just focus on me.
Be self, yeah. Focus on self.
Right? Now the children are like, oh, that tastes good. Like, oh,
Yeah.
That's a lot. And Empress now she called me Osiris before she didn't call me that.
Yeah.
Straight slavery.
Maybe this guy knows what he's talking about.
Yeah, maybe. He just might be onto something.
That's what my aunt's doing too, man. Like she's starting to see stuff.
Yeah.
She doesn't want to say it, but like I can see it in her eyes. I can see it. Like,
Yeah, yo, and that's the place right there. You know what I mean? You being comfortable in your skin. You know what I mean? That forget about some highwayman recognizing or whatever. How about mom, dad, aunt, whatever like that, recognizing what's up?
it's just funny, you know? Like it's the point where I was go to my grandma's or whatever, and they're asking about Rennie. They're like, "Oh, how's Rennie doing?"
Yeah.
It's like, if you guys really care, I'm sure you guys can get his number if you guys want to let him know. Everyone's asking him about Rennie. Like they need an update status.
Yeah. Confirmation.
What I've been noticing is a lot of Christians are like literally turning away from the church. A lot. Like I know I've got a couple guys I went to high school with, and they were hardcore in church. Like hardcore. And when I see them now, they're like, no, you know what the pastor, like tell me stories of like experiences they had in going to different churches. It's all about, they know that now they're recognizing that it's all about money.
Yeah.
You know? But it's the whole thing with the aquarium, great, the age of going, right? Everything is
being revealed.
Guided by the stars, right?
Everything being revealed.
That's what's going on, forcing changes.
Yeah.
The funny thing about the church, like they say, come to church and don't watch. Nobody just come and find that for yourself and this and that. But at the end of the day, what is the church without the people? That's how I'm building.
The same thing with the government and the people, because the same goes with the government for the people, and the people are not looking to the government. The government knows that it's the people and that's the government, but the people are not thinking like, yo, where's the government? You know, so it's like a lot of things is people gotta start really looking on it themselves, and once they really comprehend what power it is, that they can know how to function with it and what it's supposed to be.
And that's a good branch off to right where we're going with the concept of the people recognizing that they're the government. And once the people recognize that they're the government, as soon as the people recognize that they're the government, then the fake stuff doesn't even exist anymore. So we were talking about Thurgood Marshall. So there was a couple points, and then there's a speech that he had called "The Sword and the Robe." I will go into, but some interesting facts about Thurgood Marshall. Whenever he got in trouble in school, because he was supposedly, you know, he was so intelligent or whatever like that, he could get in trouble and still pass or whatever. So he got in trouble too. Whenever he got in trouble, his school principal's punishment for him was send him to the basement, make him study the Constitution. That was his punishment. Right? In 1925, at the Lincoln University, which would have been what they call Black Princeton during that time, Lincoln University in Oxford, Pennsylvania, Thurgood and friends desegregated a local movie theater by sitting in the white section.
What guy did that?
Him and his friends, Thurgood Marshall, who if nobody heard of him, that was the quote unquote first Supreme Court black judge. The goddaughter of Thurgood Marshall, Karen Hasty Williams, is quoted as saying he believed in the Constitution and felt that was the tool that would make blacks equal to rights in this country.
What amendment? What amendment was it?
14th. 14th Amendment. William Marshall had an interest in law, and as a boy brought Thurgood to court to watch trials and taught him about the Constitution. Thurgood always said that his father is one of the people that led him to study law. And his mentor at Howard University, Charles Hamilton Houston, is quoted as the saying that if Thurgood was going to be a lawyer, he's going to have to be a social architect. If he's going to take on law as a profession, he has to be a social architect. If he doesn't take the path of being a social architect, then as a lawyer, he will be a social parasite. No,
Too many roles
already. So the sword and the robe. The task of interpretation is the cornerstone of judicial process. As we undertake it, we must strive for neutrality. None of us is perfect, and I recognize the neutrality that more ideal than real. Each of us brings along to the judicial role certain preconceived biases. It is, I suppose, impossible to make a decision totally influenced by them. But we as judges must try to do so to the extent we possibly can.
This ideal of neutrality is particularly hard to maintain in times such as these, when our society faces major unsolved problems. Indeed, we judges are frequently criticized these days for our neutrality. For example, it is argued by some members of the society that the judiciary has not taken an active enough role in combating crime. It is urged that we as judges should take sides, that we should stand shoulder to shoulder with the police and prosecutors. Conviction should be easier, appellate review more rapid, and resort to habeas corpus, what the founders of the Republic called the Great Writ, drastically curtailed. All of this frightens me because when I was in law school, I was taught not that judges were there to see the defendant convicted and punished in every case, but that they were there to see justice done in every case. Of course, the state had to carry a heavy burden to obtain a conviction. Of course, appellate judges would weigh each case carefully. Of course, an individual once convicted could attack his sentence later. This, so I thought, was not to coddle the guilty, but to protect the innocent. I was raised in the days when the prevailing maxim was, it is better that 1,000 guilty people go free than one innocent person suffer unjustly. Any thoughts on that first paragraph?
Well, I think with what he's saying about that comes out around the last part of that statement where it's he'd rather be on the side of caution, on the side of caution, and letting somebody go free rather than punishing, an innocent person.
Right. Yeah.
That's being conservative in your approach, right?
Yeah.
The law needs to cut across a wide stretch, a wide width, in order to encompass everything, but at the same time also needs to be specific.
Yeah.
You also need to be able to go into it and go to a particular detail. And if you're throwing on the side of caution, then that's what you're doing, right?
Right.
You're allowing a wider breadth, and you have some room to make a decision rather than being ministerial, where you're just stuck with whatever.
But whatever is supposed to, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Again, that also ties into the line that they're supposed to follow, which is the Constitution. That why would you go outside of those bounds if they're that laid down? Right? Which, when they go outside of the bounds, supposed to let the people know how corrupt of whatever it is that they're dealing with is. That they're not even going to go by this thing that they take an oath to. So forget morals and all the other stuff that you're expecting to get from your engagement with them, right? You had something ready?
Just saying the whole thing with like the small line of being said, the one that you know and said, habeas corpus, right?
Yeah.
Bring the body, right? Present the body, right?
Yeah.
Carry out justice, courts, right? The whole thing. It's like you can go back with the whole thing with the gorilla. Remember the whole gorilla, the articles of gorilla when the gorilla was locked up, and the attorney general habeas corpus with the gorilla, not the gorilla.
Yeah.
Habeas corpus for gorilla?
Yeah. Those are the monkeys on there.
What the hell?
Versus like justice, right? Loss of justice. Like even though it's an animal, it's still got like the same thing.
Like it has certain rights. That's certain rights. Yeah, like it's, you know. But remember the point of that bringing up that they would never use habeas corpus and get a black man up.
That's not tied to both.
When they could do that, but they can't really do that because if you don't have rights, if you're below the beasts of the field, then definitely no habeas corpus could happen.
Even the gorilla has more rights.
Right? Gorilla. Yeah.
Only on that little bit more for people who know, right? That part that we're related to them.
Yeah.
We would want to make them protect their ancestors. That's why I said people know the study and know the depth of what I'm saying. You know that was your grandparents, grandfather. We only related to them through mother, not the father. So that's your ancestry. When you want to bring your experience, that's what you find. When you see certain things and you study, you won't be surprised.
Well, they do call their pets their children.
Right. So we can understand all this.
People understand that you know that they are talking the truth.
It's just we don't know. We're not up to there. We need to understand that, hey, they call their kids that they are kids. And they're my kids.
I get it.
And we have children. When you study, you can like, no. Understand where people are coming from.
And then you have to go with the whole thing of the human and
Mankind.
Right. We're ancient, witty blacks. We're full. They're average. So that's why we thought of how much you're going to
but
study.
they put us on their timeline and going different.
They can take 50 on us.
The whole thing is, brother and I here, you know, he made the whole thing and I started running with it. I said, you know, that's brilliant, like how he said it. He goes, bro, they're black people here. Black people are the Europeans.
Reconnected.
Because make us talk on the same frequency as though we can't talk on the same frequency as them, is because it doesn't separate us from them. You know what I mean? Like it's like when I don't want to use that example, but it's just like when children are talking amongst each other, if they don't want the elders to know what they're talking about, they're gonna say it a certain way. They're gonna say it a code, you know? Or if Jamaicans don't want like the boss to know what they're saying, they'll start sleeping in their password, you know what I mean? Exact same thing.
So just to add, just like and last thing. I lost the thoughts.
But it's funny, when you talk to the black guys, you know, they come up to you. To collect me as if they don't know us, I'm security, so I get this every day. Oh, it's a shitty morning. And I'm like, why is it a shitty morning? You know what I mean? It's a great rising, so I'll say something different.
Yeah.
I'm like, there's snow outside and you're crossing the lake. So I realized that's the next side of the speaking.
Yeah, the lower self,
We're connected to natural stuff, so you can't connect to that. That's why I bring him there. I bring him up today.
Yeah.
At least not snoring, but not to show it of you.
Quick fast. Quick fast. Quick fast.
Yeah, and then I'm like, well, I'm worried. I know I'm a week up. My mother's head and shoulder. I'm thinking, why am I not going to worry with you? Yeah, I'm supposed to say greetings and go to rice. I'm praising them. I'm not worried. I stop worrying because I know. Yeah, you say morning to them, you're repeating this morning.
Yeah.
They have to reply.
So they know that in the morning, you know, this guy's still morning, so that means they're still down there.
Yeah.
They haven't realized what happened to you. So when you're there, no, that's just have a look at it. Like, just say he's not reacting like that anymore. Not morning anymore. Those greetings are rising.
Yeah.
No more morning.
No more morning.
It's a speech. The little things that we do, we start changing. While studying, when you study, you start realizing that I gotta start doing now. Everything. Like how they talk to me, you say something positive back.
Right.
When they talk, you know what I mean?
And that's the realization that the word is God.
Right.
You know what I mean? So you better say the right stuff if you know what's good for you.
I just remember when I was little. I don't know if you guys ever watched Dodo King of the Wars. He has a YouTube channel.
Yeah.
Right, where he does most of his videos on the road, on the street, right? So when he's doing his videos now,
the Europeans be walking past, he's like, oh, my children, right? Oh, my sons, oh, my daughters. And you'd be surprised, I'll be answering them. I'm like looking at, what the hell? They're like, giving handshakes and, like, these people know, right? Just from my experience, when I was on my last slavery, I got fired. And sometimes you get fired, they want to escort you out. Maybe they want to say, oh, you get your stuff here before you get your stuff home. Whatever. So then the guy now, when I'm walking to get my stuff to the change room, he guys hold my hand. I'm like, look at me. Like, I don't want to And then after the man said, oh, you're gonna hit me? I realized he's trying to bait me. So that got me pissed, right? Yeah. So I just called him, that's how you're bigger, you're trying to get my name, you're monkey, I was off on it, Everybody's looking like, what? The guy, like if you say something like that to somebody, right, and they don't, and that's weird to them, they're really like, what are you talking about there? Change the man just, well, actually, they didn't say nothing. And then that just made people harder on him. And then all the people now that are around, they're looking like, all the workers are like, what the hell? Just calm down. But they don't really get it. They think like, that's crazy. And the guy, he's quiet as a monk. All the N-words, all the I'm telling you what, I'm your father, I made you, I civilized you, I'm forgetting on you, Really, I know I'm God. And the man object to see one thing. Because he knows his issue. But just to show you that these people know this.
They definitely know.
Not everything because they don't answer you, or they don't reply, or they act like, oh, act this, and then just say, hey, no. Just kind of understand, because I know sometimes when I go exercise, and like say tax off, and they're giving me problems, like, wait. I just go straight. I'm like, you're raping my land, you're raping my resources, you're raping my family. I just go in on it. They don't like to hear hardcore truth. They don't want to hear the hardcore truth. They're like, you can say fancy, like, oh, this is indigenous, and this. When you say you're raping and you're pillaging and murdering, it's not something different.
Guilty conscience.
You see them run away in the back, and then all of a sudden now you say your stuff, But sometimes, like you said, the language. Sometimes you have to speak the language. Like the prophet said, deal with them on a respectable level. But sometimes you gotta go grinding. You don't have to go loud and vicious. You just tell them the hardcore truth. You know what I mean? Like I'm the master. That's why you're the public servant.
I don't know, man. Everybody knows. It's all you deal with, but you start feeling it. Like in my work, everybody there. Before I know this, I used to be a little bit cautious around the boss. And I was like, it's careful what I say. I look at the guy, he looks at me, like passing, and I can see like something going back down in it. Why this guy's so happy?
How come he's
we're not passing. And next time I pass you, you actually wait after.
Because they like when we actually know who we
are.
You know what I mean? That's all they don't respect us. That's what we want.
Exactly. I'm telling you. I mean, I had the same one. Another one. When I wear my fez, the big bosses, every time they pass, they're bringing me up. Like, what's up? I didn't even know. To all the workers are hating. Like,
how come he's getting that? Oh, hate, let's be a more. Let's be a more.
This one time in Hamilton, I went to this car show. This is when I just started studying about mores and things, and just these two brothers that are put me on. So, when this car show and some young people up on the stage are doing a rock and roll thing and
Europeans.
Like, and
You know, the car show, them have their own Chevys and all them cars and all of them things. So, as we step in that place, we see when I black man in our face. So, don't say about the face as on like Hamilton 19, this, that, that. So, I'm stop like her. The female when they walk in, when she walk in, because she knows when you see them things and approach it, you know?
Yeah.
So, she knows what mistakes, so she start looking. So, we go to him and I said, what's the and he's like, it's a fence. And I'm like, I know exactly what it is. And then he's like, it's a shrine. I mean, I said, a shrine. And I'm like, are you on work?
Yes, true.
He's like, he shook up. But when I said that, I just turned my back and I started walking. And then he's like, I thought you were going to ask if I'm Turkish. That threw me up because I didn't know what the hell that means.
Right.
So when I stepped up and I went and I said, he took off his fence, the fence was gone.
Yeah.
And like this,
So you could do.
I didn't even know what that is. I told him, and I go there and they're like, yo, what? And they're like, you know, I didn't even know what.
Yeah.
As I just asked
You took his place. Yeah, you took his place.
Yeah. I'm just as shocked as he is. The whole time, no matter what I'm going that place, I look like I'm somewhere. Move, man.
Yeah, but what gives, like, even with him looking at you like that, his this lets him know that he has to keep it secret now. Like, he can't be open with it. He has to, like, just do your research on Masonic hand gestures and whatever. He's completely yielded to you. Like you know, that's crazy.
From there and then from I knew that, yo,
you knew something was up. Yeah, that's where it's at. Yeah. Right. Yeah.
That's me. I see that. Nobody ever tells me about that. I mean, experience that.
Right. Exactly. Those are the ones right there. Those are the ones that you get personally. You know what I mean? And then when even with what we're saying, like, you know, something like that, you wouldn't be able to present to a forum other than a forum with Moors in it. You know what I mean? Because nobody would know what you're talking about. So what? He took his fez off and he was walking around like this for the whole time. Like, you know, that's big. That's big. Yeah, that's big. That is huge. You know?
That's like something like, because I was thinking deep into it. He told me the guys, because he told me there was like 7 guys there after.
There's more stuff.
They were under a temple, right?
They had a
And you see a temple, a shrine, more shrines.
Shriners.
When even the girl, even the female, when she's like, what did you say to him? Why didn't he take off his thing? I'm like, what are you doing?
And then that's the other part too is the M word, the secret M word, more. That it's like something. There's something with them, whether you're dealing with Masons, Europeans, other, you know what I mean, nations or whatever like that. Once you start talking more to certain people, it sends them off somewhere. You know what I mean? Like,
what does the Turkish have to do with the fence though? Why did he say that?
The Turkish were the Ottoman Empire, and that's who they were representing.
as that. So Turkish are their connection back, or their another slice of it that sliced off to make you disconnect.
Like you, yeah. So you
Yeah.
you going to them was you were going to him with the full cake and telling him put his slice back.
Yes.
And he put his slice back, and then he's just mad the whole time.
Then they have some ritual where if you get called out, you have to take your fez off.
Yeah. That's another level. That's another level of it. Yeah.
Maybe that's the whole thing with off with your head when you get caught.
Yeah, off with your head. Yeah, yo. Could be that. Could be that. There's some more disturbing. The sword and the robe. Bar the framers of the Constitution recognize that responsiveness to the will of the majority may, if unchecked, become a tyranny of the majority. They therefore created a third branch, the judiciary, to check the actions of the legislature and the executive. In order to fulfill this function, the judiciary was intentionally isolated from the political process and purposely spared the task of dealing with changing public concerns and problems. Article 3 judges are guaranteed life tenure. Similarly, their compensation cannot be decreased during their term in office, a provision, as we have recently seen, that certain has its tangible benefits. Finally, the constitutional task we were assigned as judges is a very narrow one. We cannot make the laws, and it is not our duty to see that they are enforced. We merely interpret them through the painstaking process of adjudicating actual cases or controversies that come before us. We have seen what happens when the courts have permitted themselves to be moved by prevailing political pressures and have deferred to the mob rather than interpret the Constitution. Dred Scott, Plessy, Korematsu, Korematsu, and the trial proceeding in Moore versus Dempsey come readily to mind as unfortunate examples. They are decisions of which the entire judicial committee, even after these years, should be ashamed. There have also been times when the courts have stood proudly as a bulwark against what is politically expedient but also unconstitutional. One need only recall the school desegregation cases to understand why this ability to stand above the fray is so important. And then keep in mind, dealing with the whole school desegregation, Thurgood Marshall defending somebody that was being told they can't go to school because they're black or whatever like that, and he fought for them and won their case. That they do have that right to go to school. But remember, that individual has an office of the court that's talking for them. It's not them speaking for themselves. So when you have him taking this position of standing for somebody so they can go to a school and not be denied the right, it's based on race. Which race is human? Yeah. Race is not black, white, and all that stuff. So they might present it to the masses like, yeah, he was and he fought for the segregation of the whatever, so black people can whatever, that's why he's our first black whatever. But that's not what really the argument was. He was dealing with Constitution. They were taking it like, oh, only 14th Amendment only. But it's the whole stuff. Like, you can't say 14th Amendment and then that's all you're standing on. Because there's 13 amendments before that. And then 7 articles before that. And then Articles of Confederation and all those stuff before that. Treaty and all that stuff before that, 14th, whatever. And all those things are tied to it. So they're using it as, you know, a way to honor their black, whatever, giving blacks rights, but not recognizing that, well, if blacks still don't have rights today, obviously that wasn't about blacks having anything back then. That's not really what was going on. It was really about getting these people to study the Constitution, know about the Constitution, so that they can have a way to know how or where these people are dealing with it, right? Actually, if you look in that Black's Law in the back, they have the Constitution in there. If you get us to read Article 3.
U.S. Constitution, Article 3, Section 1. The judicial power of the United States shall be vested in one Supreme Court, in such an inferior courts as the Congress may from time to time ordain and establish. The judges both of the Supreme and inferior courts shall hold their office during good behavior, and shall, at the stated times, be received for their services and compensation, which shall not be diminished during their continuance in office. Section 2. The judicial power shall extend to all cases in law and equity arising under this Constitution, the laws of the United States and the treaties made or shall be made under their authority, to all cases affecting ambassadors, other public ministers, and consuls, to all cases of admiralty and maritime jurisdiction, to the controversies to which the United States shall be a party, controversies between two or more states, between a state and its citizens of another state, between citizens of different states, between citizens of the same state claiming lands under the grants of different states, and between a state or citizens thereof and the foreign state's citizens or subjects. In all cases affecting ambassadors, other public ministers, and consuls, and those in which states shall be a party, the Supreme Court shall have original jurisdiction. In all other cases before mentioned, the Supreme Court shall have appellate jurisdiction, both as to law and fact, with such exceptions and under such regulations as the Congress shall make. The trial of all crimes, except in cases of impeachment, shall be by jury, and such trial shall be held in the state where the said crime shall have been committed. But when not committed within any state, the trial shall be at such a place or places as the Congress may be by law at direct. Section 3. Treason against the United States shall consist only in levying war against or in adhering to the enemies, giving them aid and comfort. No person shall be convicted of treason unless on the testimony of two witnesses to the saying of words act or the confession in open court. The Congress shall have power to declare punishment of treason, but no attender of treason shall work corruption of blood or forfeiture, except during the life of the person attained.
And so,
wouldn't that only be in existence if it was still a republic? Because Congress adjourned in 1861, right?
right. Now, being that they have taken over something that's not theirs, the rules of the house don't change because they took over. So they're still under certain obligations. Just because they're saying we're going to sit in the seat. Like if somebody says, I'm a fraud, but I'm going to sit in the seat of the Morris Science Temple of America and be fraud with it. Okay, well, you're still supposed to read the stuff to be every meeting. And you're still supposed to carry on like it's Morris Science Temple. As soon as you don't, then that disqualifies them. Which is where the people are supposed to come in now and say, okay, grab this guy by the neck, drag him outside or whatever, and then bring somebody else. And then equate that with government and prime minister that's messed up, or senator that's messed up, or whatever that's messed up. If the people are who or why these people exist because we voted for you or whatever, then if you don't do what you're supposed to do, like why are the people sitting back and waiting for something? You know, they find out that the local pastor is a pedophile or whatever, and then they're waiting.
Before they're supposed to think about
like, when you wait, right? Because you violated. You know what I mean? It's not because you did something good and we're taking it, you know what I mean? You violated.
People are waiting for the police complaint. But who's gonna write a police complaint against the pastors, you know what I mean?
Right.
Yeah, that's right.
Hey, they get a black. They get a black. Look at the Vatican. They get
Yeah.
Look at these so-called.
Calling police ain't gonna.
They're the most scandals with the most woman and the most gay stuff, and they get black. You know,
A pastor can get you out of prison and work. A pastor can do that. So like, oh, they're not gonna lock up there.
you have to. They have to violate in their little circle for them to go after them. And us as the congregation going after them, they're not even one of them.
Yeah.
Unless the congregation becomes the government, I would say, or we the people, which are the government, and the public servants, and the pastor, the public servants, and the prime ministers, and they're the public servants. So yeah, they're the servants. That's their title, public servants. So we as a people have to realize that we are the masters. We're the servants, we're the masters. So we have to take back that power to say, as a people, that this is not right. Because back in time, when public servants was administering the law, right? They got paid depending on what remedies and what outcome and how good they were. If you're really good, you were really rich. If you're bad, then you're out of here and you're in the gutter. It's not like now they thief and they do anything they want and they're still getting their big salaries and they're still administrating stuff. Like why these people administrating stuff when they plainly in the news tell you that they're stealing and they're tricking you and they're doing all this corruption. But the people's mind, like I said, the mind's not right. Doesn't matter what proof you bring to them.
Now, speaking about that, people's minds not right. Just putting some stuff out, if Morris could give their piece on, based on their research, how they could respond to certain things on there. Somebody going crazy in the chat or whatever. So one of the statements that they made was where the hell did it go? After researching Drew Ali's claims that all blacks are Moorish, he could not back up his claims. It's funny when people claim that North America is Morocco. That's the first one. So, like, how could we respond to individuals who can't accept or grasp certain big historical errors that they might not even have considered? So, for example, that North America is Morocco, right? Like, what type in your research, what stuff that have you found to prove that over here is really Morocco? We'll just start. Oh yeah, we'll just start here. We'll just go around. If anybody doesn't have nothing, just pass or whatever.
I would say a treaty piece of friendship in your copies. It describes that the treaty was written in Arabic. So if it's written in that language, then those people were the ones who were setting the tone of that treaty. And it's basically telling them this is the land. We recognize that this land has to be America. This land has to be Morocco. That's we're telling the other party what it is, and this treaty applies to all of this land. So that in itself should be quite enough to say this is where you're
right. So the treaty, one of them.
I would say go read President George Washington's letter to himself to Morocco, asking thanking him for allowing him to do commerce on his domicile.
Right. Yeah. Anybody else on this side?
There's also, I forget what the letter's called, but it's a confession or some sort of literature that Christopher Columbus, when he was coming to the West Indies, so when he was meeting the indigenous people, he referred to them as copper tone, curly hair. And so we see that there's precedent when he said, and then we look at there's this one professor at the University of Rhode Island that played out the Arabic literature. This professor documented in Albion, Professor documented that 500 years before Columbus, there was Arabic literature and Arabic temples along the shoreline when he was arriving. So maybe Europeans didn't call it Morocco, but the natives did.
Right. You got something more?
No, it's the same thing. Like,
Same thing, yeah.
when those take place, it was with the Sultan of Morocco.
Right.
It wasn't
the Sultan of.
Those things were so many years ago. And the Morocco that we're looking at over there is only like 60 or something years old.
Right.
So
Right.
this happened long before this thing.
That Morocco.
Where is the Morocco? Which one is
So you would say that also, that along with people not understanding where Morocco is, there's also a disconnect with what Morocco is.
Yeah.
As far as, is it over there only? You know, the timeline of over there, when over there started, when they started talking about Morocco over here, and why would you think that over here is not it, but over there is it, when over here has been called Morocco, or activity as far as Morocco has been going on longer on this side than over there.
It says study, right?
Right.
Well, if you read the Barbary Corsaires, I can't repeat myself.
Yeah.
It tells you on page 113 that in Arabic they like to call the country and the city by the same name. So if you look at Al-Andalus, it means Cordoba, and Cordoba is the same thing, right? In Arabic. So you can say Morocco the kingdom and Morocco the empire would be the same.
I get what you're saying.
Yeah. You look at it like that.
So my perspective on it is, when you think about it, every nationality has coincide, it matches with the land. So like Chinese, China, India, Hindustan, India, Italians, Italy, Nigeria, so on and so on. When it comes to more, think about it. More Mauritania, more Morocco, right? And those lands, if you look at the map, right, they're kind of, at one time the whole planet was one. So the break off, if you kind of match it, like if you put in a puzzle, that area was aligned with the same over here, like where North America is. Like where North America is, that's where Mauritania, Morocco, the kingdom, it's all you put together, they're right there.
Right.
That's where they match. So you have to think past, if you go ancient time, it was all one. So the kingdom was probably the capital. I'm just putting that on, I don't know for sure, I'm just saying that. And the empire was the whole.
Is that how you get is that how you get Silk Road, where they had that big market, right? And apparently I was really used on the Sri Lankans and like the Indians.
Right.
They were big on the spice trade, but obviously the Moors were big on it because the Moors are the ones that gave them the Islamic culture. They adopted it, you know what I mean? But is that basically how you get that whole Silk Road, like, you know what I mean? How you basically go along from Morocco all the way through the Middle East and then all the way to like China? Is that like, you know? Yeah, that would be even including north, like, well, a little bit over here, like the coast.
Yeah, well, that was like the main branch, but there's other branches, right?
Yeah.
So, there was even tunnels. It wasn't just on the land.
Yeah.
It was also by sea.
I see, because like say Amazon River, we say it's if you put the landmass together, it connects with one of the rivers in not sure if it's the Nile or a Niger River, one of them. Right, so that was a trade path they take right there. I mean, so you have to go past the fact that at one time it was all one planet. So that way, that's where we were calling it the empire, because it was right there. It was all one at one time. That's why Morocco, they say North Africa now. That's because that's the trickery that they're using. Right, even though they don't tell the half truth, I guess, but it's still the truth. You just have to over understand it. That, I mean, and then all the other more that say the letters and the treaty and stuff, right? And then, I mean, I saw a picture one time where we were fighting the Europeans. It's like a drawing like somebody drew from their own
perception of the wars that was going on. And he said that into Moors or Indians, so-called Indians, or most likely Europeans, they're wearing kufi hats, right? And so obviously over here at one time there was some kind of Islamic influence in a way, because I mean natives, why would they be wearing kufi hats?
I have a
turbans.
I have a picture of I think it's like the 1800s when they would have people from the Caribbean would fight for Britain. And they were wearing like the fences and stuff like that because the queen wanted them to wear the zoo. She called it the zoo bands.
Yeah.
They said, I want these people to wear it. Like, I want the West Indians to wear this because it symbolizes, I guess, like, I don't know, culture that.
Like even those guards by the royal palace, those guards are always
The big,
It's like a,
it's like a fez, you know. It's like a fez, you know.
Or a British?
Yeah.
That's to mimic the Russian wars.
Yeah.
The Russian soldiers, they have like.
Oh yeah, they had the furry one.
That flow that was the same as the fez. And as it looked just like that, but they're like the actual Afros.
Yeah, but for me, what put me on this more science and the reality of it is like just words. Like it's just words. I mean, like trees. The trees are a big thing, yeah, but really words because like also the realization that like Canada, it's not even like an English word, and like Mississauga and Ontario, like all those words are words that come from Aboriginal language. Even like what he was like the word Alaska, and I remember reading about Viva Alaska. Alright, so like seeing Viva Alaska in Alaska, and then knowing of what's the word? Semitics. You know, language and like
Even with those I did research on even some of the native languages. The Europeans had their hands on those words too, like the languages that they're speaking because there's something called the Sequoia alphabetical something, like they created their own Cherokee Latin alphabet, right? And then after that, like I guess the school started implementing that in the reservation. It was like a curriculum of the original. Yeah, it was like a curriculum. You know what I mean? So they created like their own curriculum of Latin for indigenous. You know what I mean? And then after I guess that started creating a chip away on some of the different languages out of that.
Any questions from anybody before we close out? Any immediate questions, comments, testimonials? Just for update, don't forget the donation email, MST of A. MST of A, period, do for nation 7 at gmail.com. We're also going to be doing our, maybe in about a week or two, we're going to be doing our card updates, because obviously mailing locations change, so we have to get all the cards updated. So we'll let you know how we're going to do the process for that, so that it's as easy as possible. For the nationality card, mailing location updates. As well, on Tuesday's class, we're going to be doing the Iron Sheik 7 album release / listening session. So we're gonna play through the whole album for Tuesday's class. Yeah. Well, we're gonna be doing it at the studio. So if anybody wants to come by, we'll be doing it at the studio. No, over at Brimley. Brimley, 799 Brimley. Yeah, we'll be there for that session on Tuesday, 6 p.m. 6 p.m. to whenever we get through going through all the songs. I think it's two albums, about 14 songs each album. Yeah. Iron Sheet 7, The Alchemist.
When is this CD hard copy gonna be?
Hard copy probably a couple weeks. Online it'll be ready Tuesday for all the online download to whatever people. Everybody else, you could either burn your own CD or wait for the CDs. And also too, if you need any more sandwiches, hey, Omar, who did you just call Omar there? Yo, what's the cost on the sandwiches again? Just in case anybody needs to take.
2 for 6 and 7 with the water.
1 for 4, 2 for 6, 7 with the water. And we're also gonna be here this week. We'll be here this week. We gotta get our blinds up this week. We're gonna be doing outdoor sign. We're getting that taken care of. Because of the size of it and all that, we're having an issue with getting it sent because it's having a problem with being sent by email or something. Yeah, the file size or whatever. I don't know what's going on, but we're working on that. It's already done. No. We have an outside man, Two Sons Graphics in Niagara, who does all of our graphics and stuff like that. But the quality of it that we want, it has to be big so that when it's shrunk down to whatever size, it doesn't lose resolution or whatever. So we're just dealing with that. There's also for all the committee people, just make sure you stay in tune with your committees. And if you're interested in committees, you could contact our brother Tesba, who is their chairman. Also, if you have any ideas for, our new space, also bring those stuff to chairman or on the Wednesday calls. I know there wasn't one last week, but there should be one this week. I think that's about it for right now. So we'll be here for another little while. For the committees? Right now, all we know right now is jurisprudence committee. They're
What should happen is they should get in contact with the rest of the committee members and figure out when they're meeting, right? That's how it is, right? Each committee.
Yeah, each committee is responsible for their own time. Yeah. So because I'm in jurisprudence committee, so we have our session Saturdays. The education committee every other Friday. We have our Decipher Fridays where we watch, conscious Moorish themed movies and just break those down. And any other committees, right? Oh yeah, and then the calls on Wednesdays. Right. Yeah, you would have to contact with those committee members to see when they're meeting up, because that's not one of my committees.
Well, then I guess you can say so. Committee movement with topics, because that has to do with events and
right. Yeah, events and cleanup committee.
Yeah, you got an update on how you get a committee around.
For the committees, you just email you can contact Brother Tesba, and he'll send you the list of all the committees, and basically all the members find themselves in a committee. Join a committee and just help with whatever that committee is doing.
Signature block, which committee you was in his committee.
Yeah, because we could we'll recap.
I have the list here.
Yeah, we'll send out another email again, just so everybody knows. Any other comments, questions? Say it again.
What committee you are in?
Myself?
Yeah.
I'm in the cleanup committee, the jurisprudence committee, and the education committee.
We also have a women's auxiliary committee, obviously.
Yeah, that's a women's only.
And there's a finance committee.
Yeah.
Finance
And
and
those were just committees that come up in terms of, what we had at the time. Not to say you couldn't come up with other committees. Yeah, but obviously, these are both the numbers. Yeah, so that, right, I mean, to have multiple committees and having that there's multiple committees and be giving your time up to these multiple committees, or hopefully you just have a few good ones.
Right.
Rather than 50 ones that are barely being.
Yeah, so we broke down,
3 quality guys and 6 half-assed guys, right?
Yeah. So we basically got to where, we're speaking with other people that there might be other committees already coming up because of it's like what the ultimate goal is that everybody who comes in has some type of specialty that could be a committee, right? Or a department of the government. Because really that's where we're supposed to be going, us trying to deal with our own affairs. So, eventually the education committee is going to be the Department of Education.
Yeah.
That the 20 schools that we got, that's who's running the schools. That has nothing to do with anybody else because the education committee evolved into the education department and now they do the whatever. The cleanup committee is going to evolve into the sanitation department of the whatever. You know what I mean? The jurisprudence committee would be where, is going to found the first court that we have and the first whatever that has to do with the law or whatever. You know what I'm saying? So it's a work in progress toward us start handling our own affairs. And the only way that we're going to handle our own affairs is if we recognize our worth. Actually, which reminds me, that was a good one, because you reminded me of something I was supposed to play that I almost forgot. So if we get everybody's attention real fast. It's love.
One day, a young boy asked his father, "What is the value of his life?" Instead of answering, the father told his son to take his sword and go sell it. Anybody asks the price, raise 2 fingers and don't say anything. The boy then went to the market, and the woman asked, "How much is this?" "I want to put it in my cart." The boy didn't say anything and raised his 2 fingers. And the woman said, $2, I'll take it. The boy went home and told his father. And then said, "Son, I want you to take this rock to the museum. If anybody wants to buy it, don't say anything, and just put 2 fingers." The boy then went to the museum, and the man was divided. The boy didn't say a word, but put up 2 fingers. And the man said, $200, I'll take it. The boys were shocked and went on and told father, the man wants to buy this rock for $200. His father then said, son, the last place I went. One day a young boy asked his father, what is the value of his life? Instead of answering, the father told his son to take this rock and go sell it at a market. If anybody asks the price, raise 2 fingers, don't say anything. The boy then went to the market, and a woman asked, how much is this rock? I want to put it in my garden. The boy didn't say anything and raised up 2 fingers. And the woman said, $2, I'll take it. And the boy went home and told his father, a woman wants to buy this rock for $2. The father then said, son, I want you to take this rock to a museum. If anybody wants to buy it, don't say a word and just put up 2 fingers. The boy then went to the museum, and a man wanted to buy the rock. The boy didn't say a word and put up 2 fingers. And the man said, $200, I'll take it. The boy was shocked and went running home. Father, a man wants to buy this rock for $200. His father then said, son, the last place I want you to take this rock is to a precious stone store. Show it to the owner and don't say a word. And if he asks the price, just put up 2 fingers. The son then went to a precious stone store. He showed the rock to the owner. Where did you find this stone? It is one of the most rarest stones in the world. I must have it. How much would you sell it for? The boy put up 2 fingers, and the man said, I'll take it for $200,000. The boy, not knowing what to say, went home to his father. Father, there's a man that wants to buy the rock for $200,000. His father then said, son, do you know the value of your life now? You see, it doesn't matter where you come from, where you were born, the color of your skin, or how much money you were born into. It matters where you decide to place yourself, the people you surround yourself with, and how you choose to carry yourself. You may have lived your whole life thinking that you were a $2 stone. You may have lived your whole life surrounded by people that saw your worth only for $2. But everybody has a diamond inside of them. And we can choose to surround ourselves with people that see our value and see the diamond inside of us. We can choose to put ourselves in a market or put ourselves in a precious stone store. And you can also choose to see the value in other people. You can help other people see the diamond inside of them. Choose the people you surround yourself with wisely. That can make all the difference in your life.
Islam, I don't even know who that was. It was something somebody sent me. And I was like, let me use that here. Even the music, the music while you going. Durrell, you ready? Get your uniform, sir. You too. Don't think you're out there. You should be energized right now. You got a good one. Saw you blacked out. Got a good one.
On the left, on the right. Left on the universe.
Father of the universe,
Father of love,
truth, peace, freedom,
and justice.
Allah is my protector, my guide,
and my salvation.
by night and by day,
To my
prophet, no duality.
Islam. Round of applause for the Lord. That's what's up. Islam Wars. Peace and love to everybody. Don't forget Tuesday night. We got the listening session. All right. Islam.